I'm just scratching the surface. I'm just scratching the surface.
Hey, welcome back. It's Mr. Lightcap from the S.T.E.A.M channel, and this
It's Daisy Joy Lightcap. Welcome back to the S.T.E.A.M channel.
we're making a channel. So a little update. Here is the cabinet door. I realized that again I cut these too long and it was 9 5/8 and it had no reveal. So I had to cut these down again and I fixed that yesterday. So this is
I
done.
have a hole right here.
Yeah, I have the holes right there for the hinges. So it's ready to be sanded and finished.
That looks
So
like it's for the doorknob.
it does look like, speaking of doorknobs, I had this little piece of wood left over from a diorama that I made with Lily, my other daughter. She's going to be in another video.
Yeah.
And anyway, so what I thought is we could make the knob out of this. I thought we could cut it, put a little standoff on the bottom, and make this our doorknob. I thought that would look cool. We'll see how that turns out. Yeah, there we go. So that's what we're going to get into today. Okay, let's start sanding this. So what I like to do is I start with a 60 grit, I go up to 150 grit, piece of sandpaper, and then I stop at 220. And in between each one, what I do is I take a pencil and I just draw some lines on the top. And that way, once I sand out those lines, I know that I've done a nice job and I can move on to the next grit. So let's do that. So after that finished sanding, I just want to establish some of those chamfers again really easily. Here's another way to do it with a hand tool. Just going to use my little block plane that I have set here, and you can just drag it along. We hit a little knot there, which is okay. Just go through the knot. And that's going to give us that nice edge that we wanted. Just make sure it's nice and consistent. You see as I do it, I take off a slight little curl there on the edge. So I'm going to do it all the way around. So now we're just going to apply a little boiled linseed oil. And the trick with this is that when you have a rag that has linseed oil all over it, you want to leave it out to dry flat, because if you bunch it up and throw it away and close the container, those vapors can actually combust and cause a fire. So we don't want to do that. So I'm just going to put this on. You can watch, it's really going to bond with the wood and bring out the grain. I think you'll find that it looks really beautiful. And after that, we'll put some protective finish on it. So we're going to give that a minute to soak in. And then we'll attach the hardware and put it on here and probably put either a coat of oil or maybe polyurethane, because it is going to get hit with my knee and, you know, different pieces of wood. So you might have to put something a little protective on it. And there you see the oil soaked towel. I'm just going to leave it like that until that evaporates off. And there you go. Let's work on the knob. Okay, so here's my plan for this. What I'm going to do is cut maybe 3/4 or 1 inch of this off on the bandsaw, and then I'm going to use a piece of 1-inch dowel that I have, and I'm going to use that as a standoff for the knob. Then we're going to round over all these. I'm going to drill through both of them, and I think what I'm going to try to do is create a tap. And I'm going to harden that with S.T.E.A. glue, super glue, and use that with a threaded bolt to attach that to our door. Okay, so this is what we came up with. It's 3/4. Now I'm going to do some rounding over with it. Got to figure out how I want to do that because it's quite small. Let's try the disc sander. Let's see how we can do with that. It's a sample piece. Not too bad. Then I can come back and clean that up by hand sanding it. I kind of like that. Let's go with that. So one tool I don't have is an oscillating spindle sander. So what I have is a little drum sand attachment here, and I'm going to use that to kind of round this over. You see I got kind of the rough rounding in that I want, and I'm going to finish it up here. Now we just hooked up the sander upside down, and I'm going to get as much of it roughed in as I can, and then finish by hand sanding it. Oh, I'm just gonna hand sanding. I'm hand sanding. Gonna hand sand. Sand with my hand sand. Here's how we're ending up. The back doesn't need to be finished as much because we're gonna put a dowel on there. So now I'm gonna get that dowel. We're gonna drill the right hole. I'll show you the bolt I'm gonna use, and we'll make threads. And see how the threads line up with the tap and the thread. I'm gonna show you how this works. So I cut this 1-inch rod here to a 1/2 inch width, and now I'm just gonna round it off, sand it down flat, like that. So now we're gonna glue these together. We're gonna use a mix of S.T.E.A. glue and wood glue. The wood glue will provide a nice little permanent bond, and the S.T.E.A. glue will give us an instant bond. So I'm just gonna put a few drops of that, and I'll clean it up afterwards. And then in the center, we're gonna put our S.T.E.A. glue. Okay, so she's set up on the drill press. I have the bit in there, and I set my depth stop to 1 inch. I need 7/8 in here, so I'm going a little bit. I'm going 1 inch because I have about 1/8 of an inch showing there. The tap on my drill, I set it to slow speed, and we're just going to come in here and slowly thread into our hole until we get to the bottom, and then slowly back out. Okay, now we have wooden threads that we can actually screw our bolt into, and it will hold our handle on. So what I'm going to do to make this stronger actually is come in here and put some S.T.E.A. glue in and just let that sit. And that's going to be how our handle gets attached. I think that came out really cool. I'm also going to put some oil and finish on that. I've marked on the door where I want to put the handle. I figure I'll put it towards the top so I can reach it and it's out of the way. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to drill a hole right where I marked it. Go nice and slow so I don't get tear out, like a blowout at the end. All right, and then we're gonna do the same thing. And I'm just gonna go ahead and tap this like I did before, because why not? We'll do the same S.T.E.A. glue trick. So let's go ahead and just screw it on. Okay, got the bolt there. I've got some glue there. You can see that grabbed very nicely. So I'm just going to give the knob here a final sand. And when you're doing that, you're stepping down in grits. I didn't show it with the door, but what you want to do is when you're about on your last round of sanding, you can spray it with water. And you can see how that's going to look once we get some finish on it. And then you kind of let that dry. And what that does is it raises the fibers, the grain fibers of the wood that are there. They kind of stand up. And then you sand them off, and you actually have opened up some pores here for your finish to go into. Boy, we're really coming along. So I got the hardware on. I went and lined it up so I'd have my 1/2-inch reveal on the top and bottom. And now I'm going to pre-drill holes so that when I put the screws in, it doesn't split this wood. So I'm gonna let that oil dry overnight, just so that tomorrow when I put finish on, I'll make sure that it sticks. I think it came out really nice. I really like the handle. I think it gives it kind of a cool feel. It shuts really well, clears that walnut just like we planned. Looks really nice. So there's that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Over here, I finally settled on a dye color, and I think I came really close. So when I put the finish on this, it'll give it that satin sheen and match this, which is the existing piece that I had. You can see how that's come along. And just a little shout out to Mr. Broking. I want to make sure everybody is tuning in to see Mr. Broking's PE activities that his kids are modeling for you. And thanks, Ryder, for telling me not to wear the hat today. See you guys. Hear that? Birds chirping. It's a beautiful day outside. Go watch some of those Broken videos and have some fun outside. Do you good. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you like the way that turned out. If you have any suggestions for how to do things differently, or you want to see me do something, please write it in the comments. And tune in again soon, because we're going to build some of those bandsaw planes that you saw, and maybe make a mini workbench for my son Cooper. So thanks a lot. This is Mr. Lightcap signing out with
Daisy Joy Lightcap.
Daisy Joy Lightcap. She's a YouTube star, so make sure you check her out. Take care, guys. See you next time.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching, kids. Hope you learned things.